presentation on some industry stats and why clients now want complete transparency, and that includes around service as well as price. Then I will pass it on to Stephen, and he will speak on using service and price information to engage clients and their new rules and guidance that are available from CLC. And then at the end, I will just show you quickly what Perfect Portal is and how we can help you be compliant to those new rules. And then we will answer all the questions that we might have from the audience. So just to start the presentation, buyer behavior has changed over the last 5 years. Before, traditionally, consumers about 3+ years ago, they would get one quote and instruct the first firm that would generate the quote for them. And if you look at it, about a year ago, now it's over 60% of the consumers are getting 2 or more quotes before buying a house. That has changed quite significantly, and it is increasing over the past years quite a bit. Why is that? It's because of the brands like easyJet, Amazon, and Uber, and today's buyer expecting instant information and sorry, Samantha, we will send a recording if you're having issues with the sound. Please ask us any questions and I will make any information clear if you're having a hard time hearing. So these brands, I'm sure everyone on this webinar, you use at least one, if not more than the ones that are on here. It's because consumers are used to ordering information, seeing the tracking of it before they receive it, and then feedback afterwards and communication throughout to make sure if there are issues, they're getting resolved. So that's even with Uber, you know, you can see your little car coming, and if there's traffic, they might, you know, change a different route. So you'll say be 5 minutes away or 7 minutes away. Same thing with delivery when you're ordering your food or a package from Amazon or John Lewis. You can see the tracking when you order, and if there are any issues, you'll see instant communication, whether it's through SMS or through their own apps or via an email. And same thing goes with Apple, Airbnb, and I'm sure any other big brands that you're using on a day-to-day basis. So these brands have changed the expectations of service, what clients now expect. They expect everything to be available in their hands, on their fingertips, whether it's communication, service, self-serve information, so they can find the answers, not necessarily when they reach out to you, but self-serving information. So they can go to your website and get those answers themselves because they are looking for information outside of your business hours or during their lunch hours while you might be busy. Few other things I wanted to show are some of the stats that are done through other big companies. One is 70% of buying experiences are based on how the customer feels they're being treated. So it's not necessarily resolving, you know, getting the end result of the product that they purchased, but how their interaction throughout, from the first touch point till their completion of the transaction. And by 2020, customers will manage 85% of their relationship with an enterprise without interacting with a human. That doesn't mean human touch isn't important. It just means that customers would want instant self-serving information before they actually have a touch point with the end supplier. And also 75% of online consumers expect help within 5 minutes. So that means if they're looking for information, they can't find it on your site, they will go to someone who can. That's why you see more and more instant chat options on websites, queries, because that's what they're doing while they're busy with their day-to-day life. They might be at work, but they might have a question, so they can ask you on your website rather than being on hold on a phone or waiting for email response. Another thing, 62% of companies view customer experience delivered by contact centers as main priority. So meaning the companies now view customer experience as one of the highest priority for the clients. 72% of businesses say that improving the customer experience is their top priority because that's where they feel like they'll get either repeat business or that's what makes them stand out. It's not necessarily the pricing of their product or their product quality. It's the experience, it's the way that they make the customer feel. Another one is that by 2020, customer experience will overtake price and product as a key brand differentiator. Again, price is important, but it's not the important thing for today's buyers. So that's why the brand experience from beginning to an end, being transparent so there are no surprises, is very important. We did our own research last year, and it says the same thing. Right now, consumers are not happy the way they're getting communicated via their law firm, whether they're buying a house or doing any other type of transactions. What they want are updates when there are no updates. Again, especially around home moving side of things, this is a transaction that they make every 3 to 5 years. It's not something that they're comfortable with or even know what the terminology means. So they need to know what's happening, not just whether there's a big element to the transaction, but even if something is delayed, they want to know why is it delayed, that it is delayed. So they're in the know-how of the transaction and getting communicated. So not just doing phone tags, because when law firms are open, they're at work. So if they have a missed call from a law firm, that kind of puzzles them. And if they're trying to return a phone call, then the law firm's busy. It's not the best way how the customers want communication right now. It's through digital channels, whether it's a mobile app, SMS, email communication, or any instant chat tools. And I'm sure that's the way that you would prefer to get communicated by the suppliers that you use on a daily basis. Another thing, if you don't have Google Analytics set up on your website, please do. It does help you highlight, when the most amount of traffic comes to your website, because that will prove, when the consumers are looking for information. With a lot of the research that we have done, it shows that 60% of website traffic for law firms is outside of hours. So it's either before they're open in the morning, sometimes during lunchtime, or after hours and weekends. So it's very important that the consumer, they can find information on your website when they can go on your website, which is during their lunch breaks or after hours and on the weekends. If they can't find that information on your website, then they will go to the next option who can. And that shows up on the number of quotes they're getting now versus before they make their decision. So what is expected from law firm? It's the same thing that we expect from any other brands that we use on the day-to-day basis. They want quick and clear communication. So not some jargon that we use on day-to-day in legal industry, but jargon that can be understood by a client, whether they're buying a house or doing any other type of transaction with the law firm. They want transparency, so that's not just under price, but they want to know what is happening every step of the way. Whether if something is delayed, why is it delayed, or if you're just waiting on something from someone else, another party, they just want to know what is going on. Again, this is one of the biggest transactions that they would do around conveyancing. Online services. So being able to find the information online, being able to find the answers to the questions that they may have online, rather than them completing a form and then waiting to get an answer. Device-friendly websites. You'll be surprised how many websites in the legal industry are still not device-friendly. Consumers aren't necessarily sitting at their desktop and looking at your website. They might be looking at it on a tablet, on a phone, while they're on the go. Reducing frustrations. So that is, again, keeping them in the loop. If things do change, keeping your client engaged and letting them know, keeping them informed throughout the entire process. Trust, no surprises. Again, imagine if you were getting your house renovated. You have a builder, he quotes one price at the beginning, and then he does the project for, let's say, 4 months. Then at the end, your bill's 3 times as much as initially quoted, and there is no communication throughout. You will be frustrated, and that same thing happens with the client when they're dealing with your law firm. They want to make sure there's no surprises, that you're actually putting an effort to know their situation, and then you're keeping them engaged throughout. that is it from my end. Now, I would like to pass it on to Stephen to talk about how these type of changing consumer behaviors have led CLC with their new rules and an expectation what they want to do. Stephen.
Hi, and thank you for that introduction, Satu. I hope that everyone can now see my slides. It's the first time I've used this system for webinars. So thank you for inviting me along today to talk about the rules that we and other legal sector regulators are putting into place to improve the information that's available to clients to help them make better informed choices of their legal service supplier. We've been working hard with the other regulators, the SRA and Silex regulation in particular, excuse me, to ensure that there is a level playing field across the legal sector, that the expectations of all kinds of lawyers, no matter who they're regulated by, are broadly the same. That's important because it's fair to the lawyers who are competing with each other. It's also important because it gives consumers consistent and coherent and, importantly, comparable information to use when making their choice of lawyer between lawyers who might be regulated by different regulators. Really it's about having a level playing field and empowering the consumer as much as we can. The impetus for these changes came from the Competition and Markets Authority, as you may know, who did a study of the market a couple of years ago, which found that consumers weren't getting the quality and depth of information they need to make a truly informed choice of their legal service provider. And they came up with lots of recommendations that we, the regulators, are now putting into practice. An important thing to note is that today I'm going to be talking about the CLC, but the expectations of the other regulators will be broadly the same. But some things, and you'll spot them as we go through, will be unique to the CLC. We are taking an approach to implementing the Competition and Markets Authority's recommendations that gives firms maximum flexibility in how they comply with our new rules. We've kept the rules changes in a sense to a minimum so that firms can think about their client base, the clients they want to attract, the clients they currently attract, and how they run their business, what their business model is, how they charge and so on, so that they can build their own approach to providing this price, service and quality information to their potential clients. And sometimes I'll talk about consumers and sometimes I'll talk about clients. Consumers are people who are shopping around. Clients are people who've decided who they're going to use, I guess. As I say, these rule changes run across price, service and quality issues. A lot of the conversation over the past couple of years that we and others have been having with lawyers and conveyancers in particular, I'll talk about conveyancers from now on, has focused on the price element. And there has been a fear expressed that publishing price information could drive a race to the bottom, could put even more pressure on conveyancing prices than there has been over the past years. And I think that this is in fact a real opportunity to move the conversation away purely from price, where it has been for a long time, and to put that price into the context of value that is provided by the conveyancer. Price is just one element of what you need to engage potential clients on. What you also need to explain is how you're going to help them and what that really means, what the value of that service is, what they're getting at the end of it. And that will help move away from this race to the bottom idea. But even on price, I think there is good news. Research has shown that price information being easily available, whether that's on websites or other marketing material, can help you win clients. Now, we're not saying that firms need to have an online calculator. That's one of the methods that firms can use to get price information out there. If you go to our website, we've got our guidance live now, which also shows different ways that you can make price information available, including using example transactions. And in that case, it would be sensible to use examples that are typical of your client base, or the areas where you do work, or average costs to give people an idea of the ballpark. So we're not saying you have to use an online calculator, but our research shows that online calculators are powerful ways of winning business. We ran a test with a software supplier before Christmas, where we had two identical websites offering conveyancing services, and we promoted them through Google AdWords. And we did that fairly in such a way that at different times of day, they got a fair share of inquiries and so on, so that the test was as fair as it could be. One of the websites had an online calculator to give an estimate of the price of the transaction. And another had, I think, an email and phone number to contact for further information. In that test, which we ran for a couple of weeks, and we got a few hundred inquiries, the website with the online calculator generated more than 8 times as many inquiries as the identical website that didn't have one, that required the consumer to phone or email for more information. So a lot of people have said to me, as we've been talking to them about this agenda, well, the problem with putting all this information up on the website is that it denies us the opportunity to have that conversation with the client and really reel that business in through a good chat with the client. What our research showed is that upfront price information can really help to drive inquiries and then enable you to have the conversation that you need with the client. As I said, though, it's not all about price. There's one element, though, of price that we do need to talk about because it's caused a lot of questions, and that's the handling of referral fees when you're providing cost information. Now, it's important to say that CLC regulated lawyers are already required to disclose to their clients when they are receiving a referral fee. And they're doing this, and compliance is good. But our view is that this is too late in the process, because that happens generally at the point of the letter of instruction being issued, and where the costs are broken down at the moment. So we think it's right that the government has decided that estate agents should be disclosing referral fees as they make the referral. That seems the right point in the process for that disclosure to happen, because then the potential client can take that into account. They can decide whether to go with that referral immediately or whether to shop around for others. At the same time, lawyers will still be required to disclose referral fees when they're issuing the letter of instruction, of course. In terms of making information about referral fees available up front at the time that the consumer is shopping around, that will depend on the channel that the consumer is coming to you through. So if the consumer comes to your website and you're using an online calculator, or you've got sample costs, the costs you will provide there will be the costs for your website channel, the cost for a walk-up, essentially. And that won't include the referral fee. But where you're offering your services through referrals to estate agents or others, then whoever is providing that quote, and sometimes it is the estate agent, to the client, then the referral fee will need to be included there. So I hope that's clear. And I hope that solves a problem that some people have perceived in this area. While I've been talking, a question has come in actually about what I just said about our online test of using an online calculator. Somebody asked what percentage instructed from those inquiries. And you remember we got many more inquiries through the online calculator route. And actually it was a far higher proportion went on to instruct through the online calculator route as well. So it seemed that those inquiries were very warm inquiries. So whether the people are using price information to reassure themselves that somebody who's made a personal recommendation is making a good recommendation, or whether they are genuinely comparing on price and other information provided on websites. It's clear, it was clear to us through that test that there was a great benefit there. So much for price. And as I say, I think there's been a lot of discussion about price as we've talked about this agenda, but and a lot of concern. But really, the big opportunity is to shift the conversation somewhat. You'll never get it completely away from price. Price is key to everything that we decide to do. But to shift the conversation with potential clients onto the grounds of service and quality. I'll come on to quality in a moment. The new rules that we're setting out and the guidance we provide require firms to set out very clearly descriptions of the work that you will undertake for clients, the key stages in that and how long they might take, although that can be challenging these days. We know that transactions are stretching out and are taking longer. And also the mix of staff who might be working on their matter. For larger firms, you can't obviously say which particular staff will be working on a particular matter at the time that a consumer is making an inquiry, but you should be able to provide a description of the staff that you employ across the business and typical engagement with clients and so on. The real challenge here, I think, for firms, and this is something that every part of the legal sector has struggled with in my experience, and I've been working in the legal sector for some time now, is explaining to clients the value of what we do. Explain the real value of what you do. Often conveyancing can be seen as the irritating paperwork that gets in the way of your first barbecue in the fabulous new garden in your home, or that first Christmas with your family around you in your beautiful new home. But of course, the value that a conveyancer provides to a client, purchaser, is the confidence that they can enjoy and use that new home in exactly the way that they want and need to. Do they need to run a business from there? Do they want to keep chickens in the front garden or park a caravan there? Those sorts of things that where problems might be unearthed through the due diligence you do when you've been instructed are where the real value of your service lies. And that value is not very well understood by many clients, certainly not first-time clients, and because people are moving house less frequently these days, there's plenty of time to forget between transactions what you learned the last time you bought or sold a house. So it's very important for firms to think about how you can really get that across to the client in a few words and in a compelling way, so that they can understand the price in that sort of context. Also, I mentioned that we cover the issue of quality. Again, there's been a lot of debate about this. What constitutes a quality measure in a conveyancing transaction for a conveyancing firm? There's still discussion about whether first-tier complaints data or complaints data provided by the legal ombudsman should be used to offer a sort of rough and ready measure of or indication of the quality of a firm. I'm very pleased that in the case of CLC regulated firms, the proportion of transactions that generate a complaint is very, very low. So extremely low, in fact, that it wouldn't shed very much light, we believe, on consumer experience of being a client of that particular firm, or as a proxy for some kind of quality measure. There are very good tools out there, though, that provide feedback on firms. Trustpilot is the best known, but there's Google reviews, and there are others. that invite clients of firms to provide their feedback, to give their views on how the service was for them. And these are very useful. We're all, as consumers, more and more attuned to using those sorts of services, and we don't treat them as gospel. I would say very often we read them with a sort of an objective or perhaps even a skeptical eye. We will read through a few complaints and we'll understand if there is one really awful one. We can sort of often put that in context of the other complaints and take it with a pinch of salt. But equally, if there's consistently poor performance, I think that, you know, we put a lot of store by that as well. As Satu said in her introduction, consumer behaviour has changed a lot in recent years, and there is much more propensity to shop around, and much less reliance on word-of-mouth recommendations, or perhaps an increasing tendency to marry the two. So take the word-of-mouth recommendation and then check it out for yourself and double-check. In that context, it's really, really valuable to engage with feedback platforms, because people are probably already reviewing your services on some of these platforms. You need to engage with what they're doing, own your page on the feedback platform, and manage it as well. Very often the best providers of these platforms will give you ways to deal with reviews that are unjustified or don't come from genuine clients and so on. They all have lots of advice about how to make best use of them. There is evidence around that, again, having consumer feedback, client feedback information pulled through onto your website from third-party platforms can improve your conversion rate, can help your search engine optimization, because it's providing new content to your website constantly. So it can help you get up those all-important Google rankings when people are searching online. And in a very highly competitive market like conveyancing, as the saying goes, every little helps. Now, I know that people have been putting in questions while I've been talking, and I think Satu is going to sort of take us through those. All I will say now then is that you can contact us in a myriad of ways, including tweeting at us at CL Conveyancers, and our rules and our guidance on all of this is up on our website and available for use now. We're running roadshows around the country during October and November, and we'll be running our own webinars as well later on to deal with frequently asked questions that are coming through. So for now, I'm going to hand over to Satu and see what questions we've got.
Thank you, Stephen. And I won't take more than 5 minutes, I promise, before we answer the rest of the questions there. So just quick about Perfect Portal. We are a new business management system. So what we help you get is new business, whether it's through your private inquiries, so those are telephone, in-person, email inquiries coming directly to you, through your referral network, if you have a referral network of estate agents and mortgage brokers, as well as your website. So through a web calculator that you can see how many inquiries are coming in. So this is a custom dashboard. We have your web calculator that you can put as a floating calculator, so the client can put in their information and get the information instantly, or you can just have it as a warm lead tool where they answer all the questions and then they get a message saying we will send you the quote within 24 or whatever time period you have. And we also have a client app for your clients, so they can see the progress of their case. Again, this is just a desktop version, but it's a perfect update app that they can see their progress at any time, and you can mark it green. You can have different time scales related to it, so client knows what's happening, what's going to happen, and all the different key stages related to their transaction. So just quickly here, I'll show you how to generate a quote with the system. You have your referred option, so this is coming through your estate agent, mortgage broker, or anyone else in your referral network, or private, so this is anyone coming through to you directly. You can pick standard, let's say you put a name in here, Tom Jones, and if you already have generated a quote for that person in the system, it will do a conflict check, and then you can put in your email in here, Perfect. And then you can select, if you have different users at the firm, you can allocate different user and different fee scales. Again, you might have different fee scales for different types of properties, and also allocated to different postal codes. 18X. You can look up, again, with the system, it allows you to generate an accurate quote, because you probably won't have the same set of fees for two identical customers. If you have if the client's purchasing and selling a property, you can do the quote at the same time. And again, you can have as many questions to make sure the client gets an accurate quote, and you can allocate different fees to different set of questions. Again, generating a quote in here. This is all customizable. You can have your own language in here. You can also create a fee. So let's say you're talking to the client and you know it's going to cost a bit of extra. You can add the fee in here. Or on the other end, if they're friends and family or a repeat customer, you can add a discount in here. You can put that applicable, and it shows separate. So it's minus rather than just subtracting it from your legal fees. And again, you can customize how you want the quote to look like, whether you want the government fees separate or within your rest of your disbursement and additional fees. From here, you can email the quote to your client if you're on the phone with them, and you can send the quotes directly straight away before you even hang up the phone. You can have different attachments if you have buying and selling guides or anything else. You can customize the email so the clients can get that personal touch from your end. Or if the client's with you in person, you can print the email as well. With our system, we allow you to customize it, so you can have your cover sheet. Again, your quote here, if it was coming through a referrer, it will have their information here so the clients can see because they might be the first point in contact for them. You can have your disclaimers in here as well as end sheets. It looks really good when you can have your client testimonials on there so the clients can see why they should instruct you. And also having that information available straight away. So if clients in the email, you can have the conversion button so clients can convert directly, or you can come in here and enter the additional information once the client wants to instruct your firm. Again, you don't want to ask too much information at the very beginning, because then client might get a little bit worried and not instruct your firm. So once you start the process, then you might want to ask more questions later on that will help you fill this information in. You can add additional conversion notes in here for your firm. So that way, if anyone at your firm wants to look at the case, they can see those notes. Once you're converting it, you can assign it to different users at your firm so they can look at the quote and make sure the client gets taken care of straight away so nothing gets missed. You can add different diary notes, reminders in here as well. Again, so nothing gets missed, all the clients get taken care of easily. And this is what happens after a client instructs you. It's key stages, which again, you tailor it to your firm. And you can attach different parties with each of the key stages. So when it gets completed, these parties get notified. So this will be for client, estate agent, and mortgage broker. So once this client care letter and questionnaire received from client, all of these individuals will get an update. So again, it's that instant communication without you having to phone every single person, updating them, or waiting to see what happens next. So the system allows you to be on top of every single case and keeping all the parties involved updated, which helps you increase more of your conversions. And from here, everything is customizable. So whether you can track your progress, email open rate, you want to know how many emails, quote emails you send out, how many of them are open, which ones don't open, and then follow up with those clients with phone calls. So it's not just everything needs to be automated, but the system helps you realize where you need to contact, which method the clients want you to contact. That's just a little bit about Perfect Portal. The other ways that you can do is 5 few things that you can improve your efficiency is to respond quickly and accurately. So whether it's through an online calculator or just having your fees available on site. We actually had one of our clients, they had a record month in August because of their web calculator. It's because it allows the calculator with the fees that they have an accurate quote for the client. So when they answer the different questions, they can get the accurate quote that's tailored to them, and that actually increased their conversion rate up to 70% than what they were having before. If you're interested in speaking to that client, they're more than happy to share their tips. Please let me know and I can put you in touch with them. And the other thing, proactively engage with the client. So whether it's through an app, SMS, or any online channels, buying a house or selling a house is a big transaction that consumers do. So making sure that they're taken care of, that you understand, get them excited, be excited with them with their transaction. That's how you get the referral network, the referrals through the clients. Keep them engaged every step of the way. You work smarter, not harder. Work with your referrer network. Make it easy for them to send you referrers. And again, we have an app for your referrer network called Referring Smart. They can send a direct lead or a quote to you with their fees on there, as well as any opportunity. If you are paying them fees, that will be shown on there as well. And you can customize it with each relationship. So they can automatically, if they send you a lead, this will go into your system. So there's no manual process involved, and you can track what's coming in, what's converting, and where the most of your opportunities are and where you need to focus your resources on. Again, invest in your brand. You spend a lot of money developing your logo, developing your brand. So any emails you send to a client, make sure you invest in those emails. So it's not just numbers. Make sure you have your logo there. Any photos that you might use on your website, use them in your emails as well, because it's all about the brand experience throughout, from the first initial inquiry to instruction. Make it easy for a client to instruct. Have those buttons in those emails, so they might, if they're excited about this buying a house, they see your quote, give them the opportunity to instruct right then and there. So that way, when you come in the office in the morning, you get yes from the client, then you can follow up for more information. Again, drive business performance. You'll be surprised to know, when we did our seeker shop, a lot of the firms, they couldn't answer how many quotes they generated last month or how many conversions, what their conversion rate was like. Always measure what you're putting out and what's converting, so you know where to focus on for areas of improvement. Look for trends by month, your conversion rate, your top performers. So if you are getting referrals, look at how many you get. It's quality over quantity. You might get more referrals from one estate agent, but quality, quotes that are converting from another estate agent. So always look at your data and analyze it. And in summary, there's still plenty of opportunities available. Less than 20% of home movers select on price. So make sure it's the customer experience, it's the transparency from beginning to an end is what they're looking for. And 59% of home movers obtain 2 and more quotes. So again, if they don't receive one from you, then they will move on to a firm who does provide them with the instant quote. And another thing, it's not just about the price at the bottom. They're looking at the price description. So it's not just saying, buying a house will cost you X, Y, Z. They're looking at all the different descriptions of prices. So that's your disbursements, your government fees and everything. If they understand the cost, the prices, and for every charge, then they're more likely to instruct your firm. A lot of the firms using our system to provide instant quotes, whether it's through their private network or through their website, they are not one of the low-cost firms in the area. They are making sure that they are charging fair rate for the additional services that they provide, and they are succeeding. And again, your clients expect great service. Always put service at first, because that's what's most important to them. And they are used to self-serving information as well, by the different brands that they use on day-to-day basis. So always stay ahead, always kind of be proactive rather than reactive. And again, growing your business doesn't have to be difficult. There are tools and solutions available that can help you. It's just knowing where they are and how to use them. The other things that firms do, or any businesses, they take on different tools and systems, but not necessarily use them to the full capacity. So any tools that you do bring to your firm, make sure everyone is on board, everyone understands and fully trained on using those tools, so you can make the best out of the opportunity. So that is it from my end. Just quick one, where Perfect Portal fits within the buyer journey is you have your buyer. They might go to a estate agent directly and ask them for a referral for a law firm. And then that's where Perfect Portal comes in, is at the initial inquiry. So it can work directly with the buyer through your website, or through Referring Smart. So that's an app for your mortgage broker or estate agent, or directly through the firm's portal. And once the client instructs, that's when Perfect Portal communicates with your case management system with the key stages, so everyone is updated throughout the transaction after the client instructs the firm. So that is it from my end. Now I will open the floor to questions. And Stephen, are you still on here?
I'm here.
Fantastic. So we have a couple of questions on here. Let me bring them on board. So we have one question. It's we deal with properties from 150K to many millions. Do we have to list our entire fee scale?
Oops, sorry about that, I'm back. Do you have to list your entire fee scale? No, what you will need to do if you're going to provide sort of example transactions, typical transaction details, is make sure that you've got examples that cover the broad range of the types of transactions that you engage with. So if you are dealing in very high-end properties, as well as more modestly priced properties, then you'd want examples from each sort of end of the spectrum, and somewhere in between, to give clients that understanding of the kinds of fee they can expect to pay. But I'd expect in the very high value cases that you'd be having quite long conversations with the client. It might be a slightly different customer journey than for lower value houses. But no, you don't have to have the whole fee scale up there, but enough examples that consumers can understand what to expect.
And another question, in your test study, did you compare the success of a calculator tool versus simply including average costs or samples on the website?
No, we didn't test that. We just tested having price information in the form of a calculator versus no price information. That is something that we'll be looking at as firms start to implement these new requirements and start providing information in different ways. And we'll be looking to understand how these different approaches affect consumer behavior differently.
Fantastic. And another question for me here, what is the cost of Perfect Portal? We have a few different pricing models. At the moment, we have one for a single license for the firm. It's £100 per month. So that includes both of the apps, the app for your referrer agents. You can have as many referrers in there as you like, and you can add them yourself. So there's no need to contact us, but you can add them simply through the channel, through your portal, and includes your client apps. So you can have as many clients using your the app for cases. So that's £100 per month for one user, or it's £200 per month for 5 user licenses. So that'd be 5 fee earners at your firms who might be using it to manage after the quote, initial quote. So that will be converting the quote into a case. And all of the fees, it includes everything. Training, anytime we have new enhancements, includes training for all your staff, as well as the web calculator, and we help you brand everything to match branding with your firm. And the other thing I wanted to mention, being price and service transparent, it's not anything new. There are a lot of firms doing that at the moment, and when they do it, they're the ones that are successful. They're the ones that are sticking out and having that competitive edge. So you want to make sure that you are, whatever it is with the way that you do business is, you're clear with your clients what's going to happen, what is happening, and you will be successful if you do so. Another question here: is it possible to publish a range of fees, 1,000 to 2,000, on the website rather than average fees, as we deal with varied property prices?
Yes, you can do that. Again, the aim should be, and this is what we will be looking for when we're testing compliance with the new rules, is that consumers are getting enough information to make a sensible decision, and that anything that's published on your website, whether it's through an online calculator, through average costs, or through a range of fees, for example, is not very far adrift from the final cost. I mean, obviously, just as now, where the client doesn't provide you with all the information up front, your cost may well vary because suddenly it emerges there is a mortgage on the property, or it's a leasehold. Those sorts of things. And obviously, it's entirely right that you should be able to vary your price once you've explained that to the client later on. But other things being equal, we'd expect content on websites to be a very good guide to the final cost to anyone who is using your services. So if you're providing illustrative costs, for example, you'd need to be sure that they were genuinely illustrative of the service you're providing and the price of the service you're providing.
And just wanted to tie in with our system. You have as many fee scales as you like on there, and you can have it fixed or variable. So you can have it percentage of the fee depending on the price of the property, as well as allocated to different types of matters. So whether it's freehold or leasehold, or have sub questions. So when a client says yes to one thing, you can have different fees associated with it, as well as different postcodes, because different areas, you'll probably have different fees associated with it. So that's not necessarily, you can have all those available to your web calculator, but also when you're doing your own quotes, more questions you have with the client, more accurate quotes you'll be able to produce. And when you're producing those quotes, to see how your quote can compare to maybe another firm who just gives them a price. So if you give them a detailed quote, they'll be most likely to instruct you rather than a firm that just gives them a number for the fees. Any other questions? I think that is it. So thank you again, everyone. And our contact information is on the slide. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us. We'd be more than happy to answer. And thank you so much, Steve, for joining us and helping, making it more clear what the new guidelines are from CLC.
Thank you very much for giving this opportunity, and I'd encourage everybody to check out our website where the rules and the guidance are, and hopefully that will make things much clearer for people.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.